Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
3 saltwater fishing tackle mistakes to avoid here in 2026. I am Joe Simons, like diamonds, and we got
Luke Simons, like diamonds.
Ooh.
We violated all 3 of these mistakes ourselves, and it cost us a lot of money and time.
And I feel like we've talked about most of these before, not all 3 of these, in prior podcasts, in the fishing school, on videos, on live podcasts. And yet we continue to keep seeing the same mistakes over and over and over again. Not just from newer beginners, even hardcore weekend warriors, even people who've been in our club for a while have, kind of maybe sometimes fall back in this routine. So we'll hit them up one at a time. The last one is kind of got a few different pieces of it, but the first one, and this is specifically for, we're talking about inshore saltwater fishing for all these. And this is for a saltwater spinning reel. And it's the myth, if you will, about having the highest drag. I see people, oh man, this reel's got the best drag, or it's got 35 pound, well, I'm being sarcastic, but just crazy drag when you're fishing with 10-pound braid to get your redfish or trout. And I'm like, do you think you need that ever? And I don't think a lot of people understand why you would never need it, why it's almost impossible. So let's break that one down first, because a lot of times you're having to spin for that, to get that much drag, like that, to have a good drag system costs money. And if you're paying for something that's literally impossible for you to ever use, I think it's a mistake, right? It is a mistake. So let's talk about the kind of the drag myth there, Luke.
Yeah, and two, right? There's there's only so much budget in making reels. Like now that we're actually making products, like we get it. And so when people are putting a lot of emphasis on something like drag that doesn't really matter, it's just a talking point. That's something else that's more important is being missed. So yeah, as far as the drag, like when you're using a spinning tackle, especially for inshore saltwater fishing, this is where this is a big deal. Like I've surely wasted the most money on reels that I shouldn't have. And what I was doing is I was buying expensive reels thinking I need to have the nicest thing. But in reality, for light tackle, like for shallow water anglers, it's all about casting distance. It's basically whoever, like when I take people fishing, within the first few minutes, I know who's going to be catching the most fish. It's whoever can cast the best. And so light, especially like braid with spinning tackle, the braid line is absolutely amazing. And the thinner, the better. I did a casting contest on 20-pound braid versus 10-pound braid. Same rod, same reel, same everything, same line manufacturer. And the 10-pound braid went about 20% farther than the 20-pound. That's a big deal. That alone is going to help make sure you catch more fish. And as far as the drag setting, this is another mistake people make where they're losing fish of lifetime by setting the drag too tight. So when you have these high power drag systems and they're set too tight, you're going to be losing the trophy fish, because the math on the fact that the fish is fighting all of the line in the water. There's a lot of water drag. So at the reel, you should only have 20 to 30% of the weakest line strength of drag. So if you have a 10-pound line, you need to have no more than 3 pounds of drag at the reel. Otherwise, you're going to risk losing a fish. If you hook into a big snook or red, making a quick, real strong run, that line is creating drag on the water. And if your reel has too much drag, your reel's drag plus the water, the drag of your line is going to outweigh your leader line, and you're going to get a break off. So basically, if you're using 10-pound line, which is what I personally use most of the time, I only need a reel that has 3 pounds of drag, which like even a little kid Snoopy reel would have 3 pounds of drag. And again, same thing, right? If you're using 20-pound line, now all you need to have is 6 pounds. It's like no
so
more.
even if you're using 30 or 40 or even 50-pound braid for some reason on inshore fishing, which you shouldn't, we'll talk about later, you still never would need 20 plus pounds of drag. You just never, ever would. It's mind-boggling how many people talk about the drag and how much emphasis is on it, and it just doesn't make any sense.
And to the drag strength, what's most important is smooth drag. And so the drag strength, the higher the strength doesn't mean that it's the smoothest as well. So smoothness is it's harder to judge that, right? You kind of have to like actually have experience with the reel. But yeah, the higher the drag does not mean the better the smoothness. And smoothness is what you really want to look for. But yeah, again, there's so many people, and me too. I'm still kicking myself. The biggest bass I've ever had on my life broke off because my drag was too set. Some of the biggest snook and redfish I've ever hooked into got off because I had my drag too tight. I had a expensive reel, and I thought I had to have that thing cranked down to catch a big fish. But as long as they don't get in around structure, you're going to catch them. And like lately, I've been using 6-pound braid and be catching overslot redfish on 6-pound braid, no problem, because I set the drag properly, and as long as they don't get around structure, you won't lose them. So just don't make that mistake. I just it pains me when I see somebody who like, oh man, I just broke off on the biggest snook I've ever seen. It's like, and it's almost always the drag's being set too tight.
Yeah. So just like you wouldn't want a drag queen on your boat, you don't want too much drag. Just remember that. Anytime you start overspending for a drag, like, this is like having a drag queen here on my boat. Embarrassing. Speaking of that, not drag queens, but speaking about overspending, because you said the word overspending on reels, that is number 2. So I was in a Bass Pro recently, and I want to give a shout out. There's quite a few of our Salt Strong members who work at Bass Pro Tampa, or Brandon, I guess, officially. But everyone just calls it the Tampa area Bass Pro. They know what they're doing. They listen to the podcast. They have gone through the fishing school, great anglers, the great coaches. And I'm not bashing the Orlando Bass Pro, but what I saw in there was that everyone was around the reel area. That's where all the action was. And I'm kind of walking around listening to conversations, and no one's talking about the rods. The rod section was just vacant, the ghost town. Everyone was talking about the reel. And this was, you kind of alluded to it, you've probably overspent on reels more than most people I know. I mean, that was, you have proof of it. So you've saved not even all of them. And it's just Tupperware bin after one another of just old reels. But yet everyone wanted to talk about the reels. And most anglers overspend on the reel and underspend on the rod. And we want to flip that around. I don't think you should have overspend on either, but if you're going to have something nice, there is a lot of truth to you get what you pay for. And if any of you who have felt like the slot machine and fished with it, you're like, oh, I get it now. Like, it is a different caliber of rod and sensitivity and the ability to cast and feel things. Huge difference. So if you are going to spend heavy and kind of get the best of one, do it with the rod and not the reel. And ask us, Cal, we know, because we did that over and over again. And when we flipped it, when we started spending more money on the rod and really buying really high-end rods in many cases, like the slot machine or even this new travel rod, we started catching more fish. You actually catch more fish with the better rod. You do not catch more fish with the better reel. I don't know how anyone could say they are, because it doesn't really do anything but, lets line go out and brings line back in. So let's talk about that one for a little bit before we get into the third one, Luke, which is probably going to be the longest one.
Yeah, I mean, I was the guy at the reel display. So I spent more time at the reel display than the rod display because my focus was on the reel. That's really what gets the most marketing. I'm sure there's more margin there, so that more marketing be spent on it. But yeah, so I would buy, obviously once I started getting serious with fishing, I would start to get like the $200+ reels. And so that was my focus. And then I used whatever budget was left, usually like $60 to $80. I would get that on the rod. And I thought that was great. Like, that was like, I was so happy. And In reality, that should have been flip-flop. So I recommend spending, whatever the ratio is, like whatever the numbers are, I would say at least spend 2x more on the rod than the reel is pretty safe bet. And if you do that, you will see an uptick. Obviously, make sure it's a good rod. Like in general, like a medium power, I have one of my favorite setups here, but like a medium power 7/6 rod, if you're doing like all-purpose inshore fishing with lures or live bait, is great, right? Medium power, lightweight. You want to have a nice sensitive rod. This is the slot machine that Joe mentioned. This is the nicest rod I've ever used by far. It is designed for performance. It's the most breakable, so it's the most brittle rod ever. That is also another misconception, is that these rods that are indestructible are going to be the best feel. It's the opposite. If it's indestructible, that automatically means you won't be able to feel all that well. But these rods that are high modulus, that are sensitive, you're going to feel the best, but you just have to take care of it. So if you really wanted the best performing rod, just know that you better take care of it, because they are the most likely to break. As long as you don't high stick, or I had one break because I had it in the bed of the truck through a hailstorm, and ice nicked it and it broke on a cast the next trip. But as long as you no high sticks and take care of it, it'll last many, 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 many years. And the performance is very noticeable compared to, I call them the wet noodle rods, where it's just a big flimsy thing that can never break. They still work if for live bait fishing or cut bait fishing, they're fine. But if you want to get good at catching good fish with lures, a high performance rod is an absolute game changer. And so now my philosophy, and like this is an expensive one, so I'll put this, and then I'll have like a reel that's like 4 times less expensive, and I'm catching way more fish than I ever did, more comfortably, because this rod does all the work, is high end. It controls the casting distance, the casting accuracy. It controls feeling the strikes, most importantly. Even more important to that, it controls feeling the bottom structure, where you can feel even the lure tapping hard bottom like a rock versus sand. You can feel the difference and know that your lure's in a good spot if you feel that hard structure. You can feel the difference between pinfish tapping at the lure and like a trout grabbing the lure. One, you set the hook, one you don't. Having that extra feel component is a giant, it's hard to explain, and I never believed it until I actually felt it, but it is a very big deal. And so just don't make the mistake that we were doing, where we were spending more on the reel than the rod. Yes, they'll certainly catch fish, but having the rod as nice as possible will catch more fish, and then just underspend on the reel, and you're going to be saving money while catching more fish and be doing it more comfortably.
Yep. And I want to make sure Luke didn't scare anyone from not getting a nice rod like that because of the breakability. I've had multiple slot machines. All right, I still own multiple slot machines. So has Luke for 4 years now? We've had these 3 years. Let's just call it 3 years. I never broke one. Luke broke one. Like you said, he had it in the bed of his truck during a hailstorm. You just need to be careful with it. So if you're a beginner, or if you're storing rods around kids or letting kids use it, or even we have some guides who buy this for themselves, they would never let their customers use it, right? So you just have to be more careful with it. If you're prone to putting rods up into ceiling fans or slamming them in doors, might not be the best for you. But like for me, I do have a truck. I would never put it in the bed of my truck. I know you do sometimes, Luke. I like to put it inside in the cab and do it nice, and I'm real careful with it. So don't think it's just going to break because it's going to break. You still have to screw up to break it. Like you have to do something, or hail or something has to hit it hard for it to break. It would just be more likely to break than, an ugly stick or something. Not pick on ugly stick. They make good rods for beginners and people that just want something that's unbreakable. But yeah, don't let it scare you away either. Just be more careful with it. And it is not something you're going to give to a brand new person or someone who is, a kid and prone to dropping it or dropping it in the sand or smacking it against something.
Yeah. And to be able to know, okay, hey, like which rods are going to be the most breakable and which ones aren't, a lot of it's just on the weight. So the weight of the rod is a big metric. So like 7/6 rods is like I think the good all-purpose length where you can have very good casting distance while still having good accuracy. And like this is a medium power 7/6 rod. This is the high end one. It's like 4.1 ounce or 4.0 is basically like right at 4 ounce mark, which is extremely light.
Crazy.
A lot of them are like 5 ounces or more. And so having that lightweight rod, you're going to feel better, but that means that the walls are thinner. Also, another tell, like an ultimate performance rod, is not going to have any paint on it. So paint is good for abrasion. So it's good for making sure that if something nicks it, even like somebody else is cast, like the lure hits somebody else's rod, paint will help make sure that the actual blank didn't get damaged. And if there's no paint, something like that could actually chip the rod a little bit and end up being a breaking point. So a rod with no paint and super lightweight, those are the most breakable. But again, they have the ultimate feel, and as long as you take care of them and don't do anything like hail or a lure hit in it, it's going to be fine. The next tier, and usually those are like $300 or more. So they're higher end. This one is over $400, but members get a $100 discount, which is a big deal.
Pays for your membership in just one purchase. Yeah. More than pays.
And then, so the next tier down would be still like a medium power rod. The weight is probably going to be on a 7.6 medium power rod. The weight is going to be closer to 5 ounces, right? Four and change, or maybe a little bit higher. And these are going to have paint, right, which adds weight. Typically, paint depends on the thickness. We'll add like a half of an ounce. So that'll be half an ounce of weight of paint for weight, and the walls will be thicker. So like our slam stick is the next level down, where it's a high performing rod, not as high as this, but it still has very good feel and a lower price point. Yet still has a lot of abrasion resistance. So and that one does have paint on it. So again, it's almost an ounce heavier, but it has great feel and is very, very difficult to break. I'm sure it's possible if you do something crazy, but as any rod would. But yeah, and then after that, like once you get down to the $100 mark, the feel starts going away, once you go to the higher one, you'll see the difference. But it's basically like the price point wise, like it is a big, almost always a big tell on performance, and the big factor is the weight of the rod, the weight by compared to the length. The lighter the rod, the more you're going to be able to feel. Just need to make sure that you still have the power for hook sets. Some of these rods, they just go with a really narrow or like a weak rod to save weight, and now you have a light rod, but you don't have the backbone to have good hook sets. So yeah, the slot machine is one of the rare ones that, at least the only one I've ever used, that is as light as it is while having the backbone to get hook sets while using weedless soft plastics.
Yep. And it's no different than any of our other favorite sports, golf, tennis. Yes, you could still maybe win a match with an old wooden tennis racket with 50-year-old strings and no feel. But when you put a brand new, like super whatever carbon graphite they're using with brand new strings on it, and you got top spin, you're like, whoa, there's a whole new world. Same with golf clubs, right? You could certainly go play a decent round of golf with old, wooden shafts, and then the old, 80-year-old clubs still probably work. But when you get some of these new ones and you feel that weight and you're like, whoa, I can grip and rip this thing. It is literally a game changer. And it's just like that. When we hand someone that slot machine rod or even the other one, the slam stick, they're just like, whoa, especially if they've been using a broomstick, like this is nuts. I feel like I've been missing out for so long. So
yeah. And what's funny, a lot of times when I do that, I'll hand somebody, and this will be like the slot machine with a lot of times I'll put like the Daiwa Legalis on it, which it's like an $89 reel. And almost always, again, people are like, oh my gosh, like what reel is this? This thing casts a mile. Like, no, sorry.
It's the rod.
It wasn't the reel. Like all spin reels do for cast distance is just get out of the way, right? You flip the bail over and it's all about the line shooting off of the spool and going through the guides. But the rod is what delivers the tip speed. It then has the guides that hopefully are designed for whichever reel that you're using, so that line can flow through the guides as efficiently as possible. Most of the casting distance lost is from guides that aren't well spaced, or just bad guides in general, or just not having enough line on the spool itself. So you want to make sure to manage that gap. But again, just have a good rod, and the reel will simply get out of the way, and you're going to be casting a mile with very minimal effort.
Mm-hmm. And what you have there for those listening, he's got the slot machine. That's the Otis 2500.
Yeah.
Which is only at fishstrong.com, and members with $100 off for the rod and $50 for the reel. So $150 off. If you guys want a really nice high-end rod and reel setup for this year, or two of them, I've got a couple of those myself. Go to fishstrong.com, make sure you're logged in. If you're not a member, right there, it already pays for your membership. Membership $97. Boom, you just save $150 in one purchase. Very worth it. Very well worth it. And that's over at Fish Strong.
Yeah, and the warranties too. It already has a pretty good warranty program, but for members, you get a very sweet warranty program on these items. So yeah, if you're looking for a high performance setup, definitely give this a shot for the premier performance, the slot machine, or the still good performance, the slam stick. And then we have the travel version as well, which is a 3-piece that you can actually customize for your power. It comes with five components, 2 midsections and 2 tips in the base. So you can customize from medium power to medium light and fast to moderate fast tip. It's a really cool setup.
All right. I had to ask, because we're about to go into number 3, what lure is that sitting on that?
This has been my go-to lure like this whole winter. This is the Polk County Tweaker. It's been on fire, and this is a new color we have. That's black. It's still not out yet as we're filming this, but by the time it goes live, it's going to be close to being out. But it's black with silver sparkles in there, and this thing has been on fire. So
we don't have an official name for it.
Yeah, still don't have that yet. We have a list of names. We did a poll from members, as we usually do. It's always fun to just get creative names from members, and whoever's name we use, we actually give them a ton of lures. And yes, we have some good names. We just got to take them all through the trademark check and all that fun stuff.
Cool. Yeah, that was a lure color that came about because of Luke's favorite worm way back in the day. And he's like, I can't believe no one's ever done this. And you keep sending me pictures, makes me jealous of all the redfish and still can try your catching with that thing. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's my favorite bass worm. I never thought of using it really saltwater for many years. Like I was using this worm when I was a teenager, like when I was diehard bass addict. And then they discontinued. There's a company called Renegade made them. And I've been looking for them forever, and I found them once. And there was 10 packs at a Walmart. And I bought all 10 of them, and I never saw them since. And I've since gone through those 10 years ago. But I was like, yeah, I bet you this thing. Most things that work good for bass work good saltwater, and I was like, I bet you this will work good for redfish. And first time out, I caught a slam in like an hour. And then I've been sight fishing reds, even in super gin clear water last weekend. I sight fished. This is the best sight fish I've ever had. And I was taking that tweaker with no twitches, just a straight retrieve. The fish were super spooky. And as long as it didn't twitch, the rod, the line, they would like literally feel the line and spook off. And as long as they didn't spook them and they saw that lure, they were hitting it. So I was just doing a slow retrieve. I'll do a video on here soon with the footage, but it was amazing. It was awesome. So I'm already a very strong believer in this color.
That's pretty cool. All right, let's get on to number 3. Number 3, the biggest mistake is, and this is maybe counterintuitive because we talked about having a confidence lure and keeping it simple, which is all still true. But there is a time, or there are certainly seasons of time, that you want to change it up. And I'm going to use 2 examples that we saw here recently in our own insider community. So this is winter when we're recording this, even though today did warm up, thankfully, in Florida. But it's been a cold first 35 days of the year, right? It's been brutal. And one person had mentioned, hey, I'm not having any luck. I'm like, what are you using? Like, using the same top water they're using all fall. Like, well, maybe that's part of the problem. Fish aren't at the top of the water right now. And someone else had said they're still they were having trouble. They were doing great last year, and it's been really tough. Like, well, what are they using? Oh, I've got my popping cork. And so, like, those are just 2 of many examples when you might not want to use a popping cork all year long, and you might not want to use a top water all year long. So let's talk about some of these nuances. We can't cover every single one, but let's give a couple examples of when you might want to switch it up. I mean, you might want to go to a bigger lure or a smaller lure, or not have certain hardware like a popping cork in the middle, and why too.
Yeah, so it comes down to fish behavior, and lures is interesting. There's some people that buy way too many. Like, there's actually a lot of people that buy way too many. I was one of them. I had way too much stuff, and there's some that don't quite use enough. The middle, the true, I think the ideal part is like close in the middle, but closer to few lures. You just need to know when to not use certain ones. So yeah, topwater. So wintertime is a unique time. Used to be my least favorite season. Now it is my favorite. Once I learned which lures to work, or which lures to use, and then when to use them, and more importantly, where the fish we're holding. So wintertime, we'll cover one, and that's where we're at. So wintertime fishing, these fish are cold, they're lethargic, their metabolism is slower, so they don't need to eat as much. They're not going to chase down a topwater lure if they're on the bottom and a topwater lure is 3 feet above them. They're not going to bother going up into topwater lure. They're not going to do it. So topwater, yes, it can catch some fish some days during the winter, but statistically, it is going to significantly underperform a jig that's on the bottom. Wintertime fishing, you want to be on the bottom, in their face, and try to be in their face as long as possible. Right? You obviously don't want to fish too slow, otherwise you're going to fish for 10 feet in 2 hours. But you want to move around, but you just definitely want to slow things down and get a lure on the bottom and make it look like it's something that is easy for them to get. They're not chasing down slash baits. They're not hitting topwater. Popping corks, I don't like either during the winter because it's keeping the lure off of the bottom, which is, again, that's not good. And it's a huge pain to sit there and change the depth every second.
Yep.
So typically jigs on the bottom, bounce along the bottom is really tough to beat during the winter months. I've been using the tweaker. It's been solid, but a lot of other options.
Any other ones you could think of? Are you changing even like your line? You mentioned you went down here recently when it does in general gets way clear. I mean, the water gets clear, especially here in Florida in the wintertime. Are you paring even down the line, like other equipment that you're changing?
Yeah, so everything changes. I had to get my throat was getting dry. So it's all about
black lung pop.
It's black lung. It's all about the time of I should say the trending patterns and specifically with the temperature. So is the water getting colder or getting warmer? And the fish all they're doing is they're reacting to that. They do not like to be cold. The only way for them to moderate their temperature is to move. They're not like us. Our body kind of self-moderates. So after a cold front, the fish will automatically shift to deeper water that has, we call the warm incubators. It has some extra depth, which is more buffer from the cold air to the bottom of the ground of the bottom. Dark bottom, right? Darker color attracts the heat. Muddy bottom, dark mud, ideally. The dark mud attracts the heat, and then the fact that it's mud holds the heat longer than sand. And then you want to also have wind protection, like overnight, where that flat, calm water doesn't let the cold air penetrate down, or at least it doesn't let the warmth of the water penetrate up. So I guess the engineer made a correction on one of our prior things. But if you have calm water at night, that section of water is going to be a little bit warmer, or I should say less cold than everywhere else. So that's where the fish are going to be naturally. And you want to be deep and on the bottom and as close to structure as possible. So, yeah, black lung.
Working in the coal mines all day, pup.
So any lure that you can get on the bottom is going to work. Like I did a test. I just did a lesson on just post cold front fishing where it was trending cold. I found a spot using smart fishing spots and went and fished it. 2 rods. One was this actually, the Polk County tweaker on a jig head. And the other one, and it was a black color. It was my first time trying it out. And then the other was our Prawn Junior, which is a small shrimp. It's 3.5-inch shrimp profile on a jig head, same weight. And I was switching every 3 casts just to see if there was a difference on the lures. And they both caught a slam in like around an hour time frame. So the lure didn't matter. The lure type didn't matter. Jerk bait versus a shrimp profile. I don't have one of those near me. But they were different colors as well. So the color didn't matter. The profile didn't matter. But the fact that I was number one at a good spot, which is number one, I was getting lure on the bottom in their face and just slow bouncing along the bottom. That's what it took. And so that's why I think a lot of people get too many lures where they'll get like one of every color for like any profile. I don't ever do that. And I take maybe one of each color out and because I switch profiles a lot, but after, post cold front, get on the bottom, keep it slow. But if you have like 3 or 4 days of warmth, which is what I was fishing while I was doing the sight fishing, now these fish move up shallow and sun themselves in that shallow water when it's getting zapped by the sun. So the midday bite is awesome. And this is some of my favorite fishing, where the fish are holding in wind protected shorelines that are shallow, and the water and during the winter is the clearest point of the year. That combination makes for the best sight fishing by far of the year. Like, I was seeing some redfish last weekend. I was seeing them from 2 casts away and sneaking up on them and catching them. That never happens during the summer. It's never that clear. And they're usually in the summer, they're usually in the wind blown zone. So they're harder to see in general. But yeah, so like, so many people overlook the wintertime and I saw like 0 boats out. So I was having some of the most fun fishing I've had in a long time. I saw nobody else out there. And I was just so thankful to have such a good day. So yeah, windblown shorelines, shallow water in the middle of the day, and those fish are going to come up there sunning themselves, and you can have a heyday with sight fishing. Again, same thing, the same lures, but just rigged with a lighter hook, so that you're not creating too much of a splash.
It's good stuff. I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel. Remember that movie?
Yeah, it's
when you said you were alone. See anyone else? Best day of my life. Pee Wee Herman. Big top Pee Wee.
Pee Wee Herman?
Pee Wee, yeah. I'm a loner, Daddy, a rebel. Someone recently asked me I thought a dumb question of where something was. And I'm like, you already know where this is. It was like the basement of the Alamo. Remember that? That's what he was trying to.
Barely.
Oh, man. You got to go back and watch it. It's a classic. Tell them Large Marge sent you.
I do remember that one. Yeah, that is a classic quote.
All right, cool. Well, guys, hopefully you found this helpful. I think it's always good to go reiterate some of the things that we all tend to mess up and make mistakes on, but they are costly, and that's part of our job, is to help you save money and save time. And if you're not a member, as Luke already kind of talked about, we got smart fishing spots. You heard us talk about the tackle savings. We're doing free tackle tester every month, where we let you guys test out new tackle and sometimes older tackle and just give us feedback. We're trying to, put all the dots together in terms of where things are working, what people like, etc. And we'd love for you to join us at saltstrong.com. If you current members, make sure to get in the community. Still doing some cool giveaways, got awesome chapters, a lot of great things going on. And speaking of other savings, we got Sportsman's Guide too. So if you sign up now, that Sportsman's Guide deal is still there. All existing members you guys already have it. So you get free Sportsman's Guide membership. That's $60 of a free membership there. And you can go buy anything, guns, ammo, camo, all your hunting, camping gear, even freshwater fishing, ice fishing, all kinds of stuff there. So that's all at sportsmansguide.com.
Yeah, not to say, if your goal is to just be a better inshore saltwater fisherman this year, give the club a try. If you haven't tried it, or if you haven't even done it in the recent past, give it a try. The software, the Smart Fishing Spot software that we have is light years better than it was before, and it's by far the best software for finding fish ever developed for inshore anglers. It has all the stuff you need. We have smart spots showing where the fish are, and then even AI that actually helps you understand exactly, where the fish are going to be within the spot, and then which lures to use, kind of like we've talked about, which lures to use to maximize your results. It's a game changer, and you have nothing to lose by trying it. It has a 100% satisfaction guarantee for an entire year, for the duration of your term. So join as an annual member. You have an entire year to make sure that it actually proves to help you catch more fish. It will. That's why we've been around for 10 years. It definitely does work, and I just highly recommend just giving it a try.
Yep, and the club is drag queen free. So just wanted to made it this far. Now you know. All right, guys, we appreciate you big time, and we'll talk to you on the next episode. Peace. We out.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.